entire crowd to order. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian Moffitt. I'd like to welcome you to the May 24th, 2024 meeting of the Asheville Downtown Commission. The Asheville Downtown Commission was created by the City Council for the sustainability and continued development of downtown, a vital urban center of Western North Carolina's economic, cultural, and visitor activity. The Downtown Commission provides City Council with recommendations on downtown policies and initiatives. In addition, downtown commissioners currently fill 3 out of the 9 seats of the city's Design Review Committee, which reviews development projects within the Central Business District, the River Arts District, and hotel projects outside of those areas. The Downtown Commission also has the opportunity to provide input on projects outside of the scope of Design Review. We are streaming live on our Virtual Engagement Hub, which is accessible through the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city website, also linked on the committee page, and also available on YouTube. So for anyone out there with us today, welcome. At this time, I'll go through and do a roll call. Committee members, as I call your name, please say hello. Jefferson Ellison.
Good morning.
North Edwards.
Good morning.
Stu Helm. Here. Hayden Clemens.
Here.
Billy Cooney.
Hello.
Ricardo Sejo.
Hello.
Robin Raines is not with us today. Megan Rogers.
Good morning.
Eva Michelle Spicer.
Hello.
And Sage Turner is also not able to attend. So our first item of business is approval of our minutes. You have the draft minutes from our April 22nd retreat. We'll do those. You want to do these together or separate? Anybody?
Together.
Let's do those together. Thank you. I agree. So we have the draft minutes from our April 22nd retreat and our draft action minutes from our April 26th meeting. Do we have any revisions or suggestions or a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. Before we get into our public comment, not sure we have any, but we'll see. We should have a reasonable meeting length today. We have a discussion of what we talked about in our priority list and our action items going forward, specifically establishing subcommittees and working groups, and with that, the consideration of establishment of a public realm enhancement committee, and then we'll get into our updates and reports. So we did not receive any written comments, I believe, any public comments ahead of time.
Correct. There was one comment, but it wasn't intended for the commission. It was intended for council.
Okay, very good. Are there any in-person public comments that anyone in attendance would like to make? Good, thank you. So we'll move on to our new business and presentations. So our first item is discussion of our priorities from our retreat. So let me see if I can pull those up. Dana, do we have those where we can put those on the screen, the priorities?
Yep.
Greetings. Okay, so I thought the retreat went well. It turned out differently than I thought it would, but I still thought it went well. So the initial priority list that we had kind of had in our head was, if you remember, the items that we identified that we wanted to prioritize in the meeting was the implementation of the bid, public realm enhancement, something in housing, the Cox Avenue complete street, sidewalks, walkability, stakeholder engagement. I still have questions on what that means. Economic development, likewise, downtown design guidelines, downtown patent corridor, and the encompassing topic of public safety. And when we prioritize those, the top vote getter was public realm enhancement. Second was economic development. The implementation of the bid was third, and then we had a tie with the topic of housing, with the topic of stakeholder engagement. So as we discussed during our retreat, I think one of the best ways to make make sure that we are going to implement these pieces is to basically have people that are kind of in charge of, more or less in charge of, that champion each of these topics, right? We need like actual folks that are involved. So I would like to open a discussion on one. I think Hayden and Nora, you're gonna. We already have a request to implement a subcommittee, yes, on public realm enhancement. So we are going to do that one. We'll do that one. I don't know. We can do that as part of this discussion, or we can do that next. However, I don't know how you folks want to do it. I wanted to talk about some of these others and see if we wanted to have. I think 5 subcommittees is too many. I'd rather not have that. Let's not do that, please. But I think, you know, we could have a subcommittee for one or more of these topics. I think we can also do working groups. So my understanding is that a subcommittee is basically a few members of the Downtown Commission that meets on a regular schedule. All the meetings are noticed. All of the public is welcome to attend, and that subcommittee would be dealing with a topic that is especially germane to and under our purview as we understand our charter, and it goes forward. It's more than a targeted event. It's a recurring theme. So it's a 3-5 year kind of effort. Whereas for me, something like say the implementation of the bid. So if I understand where we are in the process. Council has had the first vote. They are scheduled to take the second vote on the bid. The second vote is going to be on the map and the rate. Paired with that is a resolution that's going to inform the request for proposal on the bid. That I'm not sure exactly how those two things are paired. So one is an actual vote to implement by administrative code statute the bid. The other is just a resolution. But there's a potential for the Downtown Commission to possibly be involved with that. But that to me looks like there's a point at which the RFP. So to me that would be like a working group if we were to have such. Does that make sense so far? Okay. I would propose that we proceed with, and we'll talk about what it means for the public realm enhancement, possibly a working group for the bid, and then open. I still don't quite understand what we all mean. I mean, I can define maybe what I mean, but I don't know what we mean by, say, economic development. The housing piece, I'm kind of wanting to put a pause on for a minute. Mainly because I've been talking to staff about that housing piece, so it's something that I'm interested in. I think several of us are interested. But the city, different boards and commissions have been working on this piece, and they're not quite done yet, so I don't know where to plug in on the housing piece yet. We've invited some staff to come and talk to us from the Affordable Housing Committee. Is that what they're called? I can't remember.
Sasha is the city's housing officer, and she's managing an affordable housing plan right now, and she's the staff liaison for the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee.
That's the one I'm thinking, yes. So when Sasha's ready, Sasha, maybe Steph will come and talk to us about what they're already doing, and then we can see if there's something that we can plug in there. Does that make sense so far? Okay, so kind of, I'm not saying there's a no there, it's just a not yet. And then for me, stakeholder engagement, maybe we start there and then we work our way back up the list. But so what do we need to do? What do we mean by stakeholder engagement? I listened to you last time and I think I understand, but I want to know more.
Well, I think in the retreat we talked about sort of that when things sort of make it to the public realm and like these meetings, there's sort of a back and forth, or there's two sides to the argument. The side of the argument that's presenting something feels like why, like the public is not engaging in the planning side of this, and they're like, well, you need to answer, you need to respond to the emails, you need to come to the meeting so we can so you can inform the plan. And a lot of times it's like the public feels like they have not been engaged in a way where they feel invited to the planning sessions. And so I think that's sort of where they came in. How do we get more people to come to more meetings? How do we get more people to open the emails and provide public comment in the planning stage? Is that far accurate?
Okay, so then that's not necessarily something that we need a subcommittee for, but we need in all the things that we do, we need to do a better job of it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I heard, I talked to a few of the folks after the meeting last month, is that even this time in this meeting space is difficult for members of the general public to attend.
Sure. Yeah.
I think you're going to hear that no matter what.
What
I
time?
thought we said about any time,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Right. I
There
mean,
are also lots of options for written comment, call-ahead comment.
Yes.
right,
We just need to do a better job of communicating those options, I think.
right.
I also think stakeholder engagement would be listening to the folks like the Downtown Association and AIR and the city who collects surveys from stakeholders and listen to what they would like to see in the community and use those results, or do our own surveys or focus groups or something to use those results to guide what we work on as it relates to the plan that city council has put forth, rather than throwing spaghetti at the wall from folks who may or may not be engaged in downtown.
Can I ask, which goes back to the topic of the retreat from the beginning, which is the point of this commission? Like, are we advisory or are we oversight? And I know we are like advisory. And so really, then it becomes like, are we advising the city council based on like our expertise and our lived experience, or are we a voice of the community as a whole? Because I think that sort of will determine how we engage with the public. Because I agree with Hayden, like there's so many organizations who are collecting data points, and those data points are really relevant, or not relevant, depending on the point of this body. Like if this body is more about businesses and more about based on our relationships, then those data points are really accurate. But it's more about representing the community. There's a whole subset of the community who does not respond to surveys. And so then we have to find a new plan of reaching that group.
Comments on this topic?
I think stakeholder engagement should not be a separate entity. It should just be interwoven through everything we do as
Okay.
a commission.
I agree.
I agree with that. And so I would, I don't think that we need I don't know that do we need a working group or anything like that for that? Is that?
I agree. I think it is something that should be interwoven throughout everything we do, but is there an opportunity here where we've seen some things in the instances in the recent past about how stakeholder engagement was successful or wasn't successful? Is there an opportunity for us to kind of digest it and come up, have a small short-term working group that can set up some strategies or suggestions for strategies moving forward?
It could match with the bid, because there's a lot of misinformation about the bid, and I even think the way the public comment section happened, like there were public information sessions in February that everybody was like, this is the first time we heard about it in April. So I think that's a good example of how the public somehow didn't know about a thing that the work was being done. And so I don't know if the bid working group could also, as that finalizes, like, okay, like what went well in this process? What can we do differently?
Same thing for like the public realm enhancement as that subcommittee it gets up and running. So, so we have both city and nonprofit, AIR and ADA and different ones that provide certain types of data points. One of the criticisms that I've heard is that by the time it gets to this level where we're voting on something, so many decisions have already been made that people feel like they were left out of the loop. I don't know how to fix that, and like, so we could say, oh, okay, well we'll just have our meetings at 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, but then everybody's like, well now I got to get a babysitter. I got to,
Right.
I don't know that the meeting time is like this magic thing that just fixes it.
Can it be can I make a suggestion?
Please.
Could it be that we just have on the agenda, there's like a 5-minute section of like public engagement I'm happy to be sort of like the graphic person, or my team can. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I get a graphic about something to Hayden and to Megan, and we're all gonna agree this is how we're gonna share this information amongst the group, and I can email that out.
Yeah.
And it's just more so it's a point of order with our agendas.
I would also like to say that stakeholder engagement would be engaging with the folks who have been presenting at this commission. The bid was presented no less than 3 times before that meeting last month. And I would like to go on record recommending a working group at the meeting before that, before the retreat, to talk about the bid. I think we really missed an opportunity to engage with the proponents of the bid to learn more. And I think that's on us, and I think that's absolutely a part of stakeholder engagement.
For sure. Okay.
This might be dumb, but can we get a,
Microphone.
is there a definition of what a stakeholder is written down someplace? Because when I
That's
talk
right.
to the public about stakeholder engagement, they immediately assume that means property owners only. So I don't know, I think stakeholders are anybody who pays taxes, anybody who comes downtown, people who work downtown, live downtown, own property. But I would like a definition to engage with the public about, so that when I describe it, I'm describing it realistically.
So,
to
so
them.
what is the difference between a stakeholder and a user and a?
I would say a stakeholder is someone who is directly. I would say a stakeholder is someone who is directly affected by whatever is being proposed.
They have a stake.
Yeah.
Sure,
And it should
yeah.
be, it's meant to be broad. It's an equitable way of making sure that everyone who is impacted by decisions know that their voice is respected and heard. And I
Right.
think what we need to start doing, perhaps to Hayden's point, is we need to start being willing to make that definition a little less broad, so we can talk about, okay, what does it mean to engage with the people who are paying for the bid, and people who are proposing the bid, versus the people who are impacted by the bid. Like, I think that is sort of the language we can start doing, and I think maybe in these little agenda notes, when we talk about public engagement, that's when we can say, okay, this is the thing we're talking about. Who do we feel is relevant to this conversation? And maybe AIR is a business organization, so it's like that language should be directed towards business owners, versus if I'm putting something out AVL Today or Mountain Express, that is for the public, and that language and that information should be different, because how they engage with this information is different.
Okay, is every taxpayer a stakeholder, like this much? And then if you pay taxes downtown, it's this much? And then if you also live downtown, is there hierarchies of stakeholders?
No.
Or is anybody who pays taxes is a
I don't think
legit
it's who pays
stakeholder?
taxes. I think it's anybody who engages with downtown. is
Any
what-
citizen of Asheville, let me
Well,
put it that way.
I think that.
Exactly.
Well, if you live in West Asheville and work in West Asheville and play in West Asheville and only commute through downtown, you're not really a stakeholder of downtown.
Okay, that's the kind of definition I'm looking for. So
So
if
if
somebody
you-
lives in Woodfin and they don't come downtown,
Well, they
we
don't
should
pay
tell
city
them,
taxes either,
the
but.
bid's none of your business?
Well, you're not a stake, it's
Or
the difference between
Woodfin's a bad
shareholder and
example. If they live in North Asheville.
We should invite them to become users of downtown.
Okay.
So that their voice is more informed by a lived experience. It's
Okay.
not that their voice doesn't matter. It's that the conversation has to be around the people who are directly impacted by it. And so if somebody says, I don't come downtown, I haven't been downtown in 5 years, we should invite them to downtown so they can have a more informed lived experience, so they can become a stakeholder.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think we all do this. We're waiting. We wait differently. So if someone says that versus someone says, I own a business, I'm involved in downtown, I walk this every day, it's gonna impact me, And so when Hayden comes and says, I've interviewed however many, 200 and some
500
people, and they all, and they, this many said this, and this many said this, and this many said this, that it's different than one piece of data from one person to me.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
I don't know if that helps. So, I mean, the idea of a stakeholder is that some stakes are bigger than others.
Sure, that's what I was getting at with
They
my
absolutely-
hierarchy of stakeholders.
There is absolutely a hierarchy there,
Okay.
and pretending that there's not, I think, is unwise. We can't do that. But I think if I'm hearing what Jefferson and others are saying, is that there are some voices that we are not capturing well,
Mhm.
that do have good information that would help us get to better solutions and help us to give better advice to council. And so how do we get to that? And he's already suggested a way, and I think that that's something that can be woven into what we're doing, and I'm very interested in that. So let's get better at what we're doing. I don't know any board and commission that like the public points to and says that board and commission is awesome on public engagement. I know exactly what they're. Most people don't even know any of these boards and commissions exist.
Which is probably part of the problem.
Yeah.
I would also like to recommend that we change the paragraph you read at the beginning of each meeting. It literally talks more about planning and zoning than it talks about this commission.
Okay.
So I think we should work together on rewriting that in a way that's more reflective of what our purpose is as this group.
Okay.
And I think that's stakeholder engagement.
So Hayden,
Yeah. The script is totally up to us to write. So yeah.
so would you agree that maybe I don't think there are hierarchies in stakeholders. I think stakeholders are always stakeholders. Maybe the pie is just too big for the conversation. If it's about property owners, that's a property owner conversation. Every property owner is a property owner. They should be respected the same. People who rent are not property owners. They're not stakeholders in a property owner conversation. Like, we need to start being really specific about whose opinion we care about in specific conversations.
In that conversation.
Right, like I think that's part of the problem. Like I think we could have been having two separate conversations around the bid around why, taxation without representation is a problem, even amongst people who happen to own property, and also why the public should be informed about how their government taxes the city, right? Like those are two separate conversations, and I think that's why there was some confusion.
No, it was just about misinformation. Most of the people that were opposed to the bid thought that people were gonna be walking around with guns. So it was about misinformation, reading bad sources, and not letting anybody that had any facts actually educate them before they came to speak out against it. That's what it always is.
So
You want to try the agenda thing?
do what now?
You want to try the like a little agenda thing at the end?
Yes,
of the meeting?
I do. I wanna. So I think let's try some things to get a little better. I don't know that we need to move our meeting dates. I think a lot of this is about communication, because we talk to anybody that comes to talk to us.
But I don't think we engage with them. So I think that the whole point of like really engaging, I think the people who walk through this room are our stakeholders, the ones who are presenting to us. And I think a lot of times we just hear their presentation, we're like, cool, thanks. But like when Mike Lamb comes to talk to us, what are we doing in the meantime to engage with Mike Lamb all year instead of just like getting a presentation from Mike Lamb? Or if someone comes, I've not been on this very long, I haven't seen a ton of speakers. There was a gentleman that came and he spoke about like closing down streets and like, what do we do to engage with him before he comes to say, hey, this is really what we would like to hear. And maybe we do that through Dana, but I just think that like if we're going to take a position on something, then it's really important that we do more than just listen to their 10-minute spiel. And I think that would be stakeholder engagement, if that's allowed. I mean, I know we can't do it as a group, but hearing someone just come in and give a 10-minute presentation and then we make a decision from, to Jefferson's point, our personal point of views,
Right.
That doesn't feel like engaging with the people who we're supposed to be
I see what
serving
you're
and to make a informed decision.
So, for instance, in that context, when the gentleman reached out to us, what we tried to do is go, okay, what is it he's talking about? Let's get the right staff resources in the same room. Let's find out what the issue is.
And we didn't have to take a position on that.
No,
did
no,
we?
and
Okay.
at that time, we didn't take a position on that. We actually asked for some more information. If you, the city staff was like, no, we're not working on that, or we are working on that, and we're gonna come back and revisit it. It's actually in my kind of like list to check back in on stuff to make sure we're doing that. So, no, you absolutely, as individuals and again, as subcommittee members, that's the point, is that you can.
We don't just show up on Friday and make a vote based on what we heard
No, we
last
don't want to
time.
be catfish just eating what comes to us. That's the point. I think if
Yeah,
I'm understanding,
totally.
we don't just want to be reactive. We actually want to be active and engaged.
Well then,
to a
Then
point.
maybe you do need a subcommittee, because it's like, I think that's the thing, like, we can't, there's no way of having a system of engaging in things consistently.
I don't think we need maybe we haven't had subcommittees. We need subcommittees that are engaging.
Oh, that's what you're saying, sure.
Right, so if we have the public realm enhancement, we have a working group that's the bid, we have something for whatever economic development means, we need to get to that next. They're the pieces that engage, if that makes sense. Okay, all right.
And with future agenda items, I think we need to be thinking about, okay, these are our future agenda items. Who do we need to engage with in advance? Just a little more pre-planning. Yeah? Okay.
Especially when there's like a vote. I think that would be a priority.
A vote?
If we need to vote on
Yeah,
something, then
absolutely.
we really need to be engaging. And then if we're just hearing presentations to be informed, I think
Would it
that's
be fair to say that anytime a vote is required to make a recommendation, a subcommittee should pop up? Is that weird? I don't know.
I mean,
We haven't, that's not a requirement in our bylaws.
I don't think that's feasible timing
Like a
wise.
subcommittee moves a vote forward.
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to find a way to make this feel like
There's more process.
it's going to actually happen. I don't know.
I wonder if there could be or should be, based on there's a lot of good conversation, but like maybe a subgroup does come up with just some specific like next steps or recommendations of just like protocol that the downtown commission tries to implement moving forward, unless you all feel good about where you're at with this discussion.
Well, so, I mean, one, we're gonna, someone is gonna help me with the script. We're gonna try to have a more intentional understanding of how we do our future agenda. We're about to create at least one, maybe two subcommittees. So, guys, COVID wiped out all of our subcommittees.
Oh, sure.
And it kind of dampened what DTC was doing prior to COVID. So we're trying to rebuild it in a very real sense. We're a whole different group than that group was. Megan was the only one that was kind of pre-COVID, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was different. We had more subcommittees. There was more engagement. We're just trying to rebuild that.
Sure.
Okay. All right, let's move on. So, yes, ma'am.
Could we move on to the bid item while we have
Yes, Zach is
Mr.
here.
Woody
I
here?
know. I see.
He has to go at 10, so.
Okay,
it would be
thank you.
nice, thanks.
So, again, we had our council, we already made our recommendations to, council, I think, was informed by our discussion around the bid. Do what? Yes, that's what, yeah. Different council members have told me they were, so I'm assuming that they're not lying to me, and they were. And a lot of the things that they're talking about in regards to the resolution and the RFP were around some of the issues that we raised during that discussion. So my understanding, again, is that the second vote is, for council is scheduled to take their second vote.
June 11th.
June 11th, thank you. At the same time, they're supposed to have a resolution that would inform staff's development and implementation of a request for proposals regarding the bid. So far, okay? And so I think our group still has a voice into that process, to the RFP process. And so I think we could establish a working group that would do something. That would basically make recommendations. Yes, ma'am.
Just, I'm happy to speak to how we're thinking about it.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
We
great.
being the royal we.
And I'll invite Ben. I mean, I can start, but okay. So we heard from you all both at the retreat and the last meeting that you have an interest in being involved with that RFP process, which we think would be great. So staff, if council decides to vote in support of the bid, staff is going to be moving really quickly to work on an RFP. And we will be doing public engagement prior to the issuance of that RFP as well.
There's that word.
And we're still working on kind of an outline of what that process would look like for us, but we know we want to look to this body to be, to really help inform some of the content of that RFP. And so we're open to what that, to some extent on what that looks like to you all, if that looks like a working group that gets into a lot of the weeds, at some kind of earlier juncture with staff. We'd still want to come back to you as a full body at some point for your input, or if that's you all working as a body in some work session on the weeds. Like, we're open to what format works for you all, but I think we want you to know we hope to engage with you in a significant way as part of the development of the RFP.
So if I'm hearing right, staff is open to us being directly engaged and giving input early in the process, versus just being someone who is receptive and gets reports on what's already been done. So, there's options in between those, but.
I would like to note that would be a great opportunity for stakeholder engagement and asking folks who are actually impacted by the business improvement district what they would like to see in the RFP, and then you guys reporting back on that. Obviously, I don't think that will play any role in that, but I think that would be really important, is that we're coming from a place of understanding what people would like to see as it relates to the bid.
And how, is that surveys? What is?
I'm happy to provide surveys. I think.
Could it be like, what could we do, I don't know, could it be like a one meeting where we have more public comment? Because I think maybe the public comments will shift. It's like, if that may only happen after city council has said yes. It's okay, like, it's happening. How do we make this work for everyone? We have a public comment meeting and then we have a working session and then we be done with it? Could that work?
It could. I think staff is open to input. Go ahead.
I think the hard thing about public comment is that you have people that are like running their businesses or not. It's really hard. So maybe if we have some sort of like way for people to have input, but not necessarily in a meeting format, like written comment, suggestions.
And I guess it's different because it'll be passed, so it's less about, it's less about making sure the public feels heard. But I do think people enjoy public comment, even if it's maybe not be the most relevant, but it could be like, hey, we're going to do a working session and we want to be informed. I feel like it makes the public feel good to know that we at least are open to listening to them for an hour.
So the counterpoint to that is there were so many opportunities for public comment, for public input in the 18 months that the chamber's been working on the bid.
Yes.
And you're suggesting one meeting. That's not going to work for a lot of people. So it has to be some more in collaborative way than, hey, one meeting where we're going to listen to you.
Well, I think
If I'm out of town.
I think it could be a blend of what Norris is suggesting, is that we could do, like, we can just, again, with this new sense of public engagement, like a really broadcast that, hey, please email your thoughts, and also here's the thing, because everyone's moving quickly. And I think, like I said before, I know the group worked on it for 18 months. A lot of people did not find out about it until
So
later.
how is one meeting going to be any different?
I think the more we publicize it, the more relevant that one meeting can be. I'm not saying it's going to save the world. I just think if we publicize it the right way, we can make people feel like the one meeting would suffice the need for public engagement, so we can do our job and move on to the next thing.
Okay.
That's my hope.
I have a suggestion. If you all do want to form a working group, I think that group could work with staff on aspects of an engagement strategy. Like it doesn't have to be hashed out
I don't think we have to
right
come up
now.
with the engagement strategy. I think the working group with staff would come up with the engagement strategy and then would tell us, we want one meeting, 2 meetings. We want a meeting, we want to have a meeting here, we want to have another meeting wherever. That could be part of it. So my first question is, do we want a working group that engages with staff on the specifics for the request for proposals for the bid, assuming that council votes to approve a bid?
Yes.
No,
That's fine.
yes.
That's fine.
Yes? Generally, yes? Okay. I've heard,
I don't want to be on
I think you can,
Hey, can Hayden not be involved? I think it would be really helpful for him.
Hayden can't be involved.
Cannot be involved?
No.
okay.
But I encourage you to engage with people who have worked for a bid before, which there are plenty in this town.
I'm sorry, Ben, do you have anything to?
I don't want to
say
be
that?
involved in the working group.
She doesn't want to be.
I don't
it's
want to be
fine.
involved. You don't have to answer.
There you go.
My understanding would be that Hayden really can't be involved in the planning for the issuance of this RFP. I just,
Correct.
while we're all in the room, is that, okay? Correct.
That's right. Well, she doesn't want to be because that would have yeah. That's, yeah, okay.
Well, she's participating in the discussion today, which I also just want to,
Yeah, okay.
Also, my idea of the one meeting and the working session in the one meeting was to like be respectful of everyone's time and capacity. And so I
Understood.
think we could, explain that to the public, like everyone has other things to do. That felt like a compromise instead of another working group.
For me, the working group was trying to get it from 9 or 10 cooks in the kitchen to like 3.
I don't want to be one of the cooks.
So do we have anyone that wants to participate in a working group? Because that's going to define, so we already said, yeah, let's do one, but if nobody wants to participate, then that's that.
Clarifying question, what's the timeline for this? If the council votes on June 11th, and when is the RFP submitted?
our goal is if council wants to move forward on June 11th, to get an RFP out within a 3-month time period.
90 days. So 90 days from June 11th in the middle of summer. So in.
We're on something else in 90 days, so I'm probably out.
Yeah, you're out. Yeah, you're doing something else in 90 days. That is true. Thank you.
Short but intensive,
that's fair.
basically, yeah.
And what's the purpose of the working group, just to make sure I
So
understand?
yeah, that is great.
Community, work with staff on
The-
components of an RFP and a communication strategy, engagement strategy. Is
Yes,
that what I'm hearing?
yes, that is my
Just wanna make
understanding
sure I
is that,
understood
so
focus.
staff is going to have from council a directive on what the RFP has to contain and be built around. So I don't know that like this group is really going to like say, oh no, that's not what we want in the RFP. We want a completely different thing. You know, we want purple fire trucks, or I don't know what it, you know, I don't think that's the case. I think it's more of, okay, here's the process. So council is going to direct the RFP, but the working group you like the purple fire? Yeah. Okay, sorry. Now that's a
Be
thing.
careful.
Yeah.
That'll be the next thing.
So the working group would be working with staff really on how that RFP is structured, the language for the structure, and how that RFP is communicated, and any timelines and things like that. That's
And, we're thinking about things like, should we have some particular focus groups? Should we do a survey? So just getting some buy-in on the process we are working through, I think would be nice as with representatives from this body. And then again, we want to come through this full body before issuing the RFP.
and we don't have to do this
For what?
at this meeting, but it's a good idea so that we're ready. We already have it set up. In other words, if we wait until our June meeting to set up a working group, by the time that gets going, you'll only have 60 days to engage with staff, basically, because staff would be roughly 30 days into it by the time we got up and running. Does that make sense? So without knowing specifically what's going to be in the resolution, even if there is one, I'm just suggesting that we have 2 or 3 people that are willing to meet with staff, say, 3 times in the next 90 days, and then bring recommendations back to us as a full commission to how we're going to engage with the public and what policies and procedures are going to be incorporated into the RFP in support of the resolution as passed by council.
I'm willing to do that.
Okay, I got one. That's good.
I would really love to be involved, knowing that late August would be a deadline. After that, I can't be involved for a minute.
Let's just start with that. Anyone else want to do that one? We can probably do one more, but I think that's.
I would, if even Michelle does it, I'll.
If I jump off the Smoky Park Bridge, so will Nor.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That's
Sorry,
fair.
Jeff Bowen Bridge.
All right, so then we have and again, this is a time-sensitive that's why it's a working group and not a subcommittee, because it's got to and when the RFP goes out, that's,
How many people can be on it?
I don't,
As many as you all want.
Oh, it's not like, it's not
No,
like
I-
a quorum
it's-
thing?
Well, yeah, less than 6.
yeah, less than a quorum, please. I would still want you all, as much as practicable, if you you can meet and talk, because it's not a quorum, but like if you're doing public engagement type stuff, then we would want to notice. When I say notice that, I mean, we'd want to make sure the public knew that was happening. You know, but the three of you all would be able to meet with staff. So basically what I'm about to do a proposal that we set up a working group with Stu, Eva, Michelle, and Noor, and to interface with staff in the implementation of a request for proposals for a bid, assuming that the bid is passed by council. That's my motion.
Second. Is that what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah, you can do that because you're.
Okay,
yeah, that's right.
I don't know.
Does that sound reasonable? Is that enough guidance for them? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, good. We got to work.
abstained.
Thank you.
Can the rest of us?
I mean, I'm serious. Next time, let's just like acknowledge that publicly, maybe before taking the vote.
Oh, okay. So Hayden is abstaining. Thank you very much.
Can we, the rest of us, be kept pretty well
Yes.
informed in case we want to participate in some meeting?
Oh.
Is that going to be a pain?
Yes, well, I don't know. Stu's pretty, you know, now that he's got it, it's his. He's not going to share. No,
I don't know. Stu's a good sharer.
It's important
I'm
for
happy to
staff
share.
that the entire commission stays engaged. And I
Yeah.
think there's opportunities in the vein of this stakeholder engagement discussion you're having to be part of what that looks like, for all of you to be part of what that looks like as part of this process. So between the working group, committee representatives, and staff,
Yeah.
I think we can and should prioritize that.
All right.
yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Um,
Appreciate that.
Do we want to just see if he has anything to add?
Do you, Ben, do you have anything to add? Or Zach, you're
Okay.
welcome to as well. Do what? Looking forward to. Okay, all right.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay, all right, we'll keep moving. So again, we're not deciding anything on the bid as a commission this morning. We're just setting up a working group to interface with staff, assuming that council passes a resolution. The working group will keep us informed of kind of what they're doing, and ways for us to engage as a full body. All right? Okay. All right, moving on. Economic development. That was our second top vote getter.
Didn't staff recommend we not do that? Like, isn't this when the point where she stood up and said, y'all need to calm down?
I think Steph was feeling
You remember that?
She said chill out.
She said relax.
so economic development is obviously like a bigger bucket than bid implementation, for example. So I think that was feeling just a little bit squishy.
Yeah, agreed.
I think you all today could maybe talk about what that looks like to you. I think there's, opportunity for that for sure. I think that could look different, to different ones of you, but we can talk through that today.
Let's bring Belshare back.
I think our,
You are on the record right now.
I think our charter called for work in economic development, and that's where this came from. So I don't know if we have the charter in front of us, but like, if we could see kind of where we're supposed to play in that. I really enjoyed reading the charter, and I think it should really serve as our guide for this whole this group. And so I think that if we look at the charter, it'll tell us what we should be working on for economic development.
Well, it was very, it's for me at least, it's one of those like, oh gracious, we don't do any of that, right?
Yeah.
Develop and recommend a comprehensive strategic plan for downtown, regular evaluations and updates, land development policies, provide recommendations for effective management of the public resources of downtown, actively pursue and assist private sector investment. That's like, whoa.
Doesn't sound like something we should be able, or we should be allowed to do.
Develop, in order to accomplish these sections, the commission shall develop financial tools for downtown development. It's like, okay. Evaluate existing plans and recommendations with downtown development. Yeah, it keeps going. Promote and facilitate marketing programs. So one of the things that I would say is that when this was written, there weren't a lot of some of the other organizations that are now in place that perform some of these functions. Like, I don't think the TDA had been established yet when the Downtown Commission.
30 years.
Do what?
I think they were 30 years recently.
Okay. Yeah, this was, I think, the original. Anyway, point being is that there's, council has utilized other organizations to do some of this stuff. And again, you know, we don't like this, our powers to carry out the purposes, the commission shall have the powers as follows. Subject to limitations as imposed by state law or ordinance of the city, perform those tasks necessary and convenient, make studies to implement the plans, and encourage and pursue participation of the private sector and private capital. I still don't know what that means.
I think I can shed some light.
Go
Well,
ahead.
can I ask a question though? Because like, wasn't this in the retreat also when you were saying, why can't we get more smaller buildings? I forget, you were like talking about like the four, like, isn't that also the idea of
Thank
economic
you.
development?
Thank you.
Like,
Remember my pet peeve. That's awesome.
well, I'm saying, but isn't that economic development? Like, how do we get more
Yeah.
locals involved in this process? How we make sure that people can start a business and have a job? And is there a way to make that broad? Like, how are we inviting
Yeah.
more people to our thriving economy?
You were gonna.
I think this has to do a lot with stakeholder engagement because it says that. But also, I think that like finding additional financial mechanisms for the improvement of downtown. In a perfect world, Downtown Commission would have been putting up the proposal for the business improvement district, right? Like, because that's a financial mechanism for which we could improve downtown.
Sure.
So doing the work and doing the working group on making sure that the bid is something that happens and works for downtown is really important for this group. I think that working with those organizations that are doing the work and like for TDA or I mean, obviously I speak for the Downtown Association, but if we could find ways to further their work to further enhance downtown, Planning and Zoning Commission, 3 of you serve on that. What are we doing to address, you know, the infill situation? Like, I do see where we can really play a role in all of this, but we have to do the work. Or we're just sitting here listening to proposals and, you know, like, it's not gonna be easy, but I think we can do it.
So in your understanding then, the economic development piece is woven within all the things that we should be doing for like public realm, for bid implementation, so on and so forth, stakeholder engagement, all the above?
I think
Or
so,
is
but
it-
I
is
think
it a
there's some
separate
other
thing?
things, like, you know, what are we doing to support the city around, you know, in the winter time? Like, we're gonna talk about public realm enhancements, eventually we'll get there.
We're
But
getting
like,
there, I
the
promise.
city doesn't have any money to give to, you know, at this time. And I know they desperately want to get to a point where we can have activations during the winter season so that our businesses are supported during the winter season. And so what can we do to maybe get some banners or holiday lights or just general activation to the neighborhoods who desperately need it in January and February? What can we, you know, and I think this group, instead of just saying, ooh, we really hope somebody's gonna work on that, takes it up and says, hey guys, like, let's, I don't know what we can do, but y'all are all smart people, let's figure it out and let's bring a program to downtown that helps the businesses during the winter season or whatever. Insert, you know, if businesses are really struggling because of bathrooms, then what can we do to try and tackle, can we do some grant writing so that we could get the restrooms at 29 Haywood reopened? Like,
Can I ask the question of the group?
Yeah.
Specifically for the business owners on the commission, what do you think would, knowing what the TDA does and what ADA does and what the city already does, what do the business owners here think, that, who are in downtown, think that this commission could be doing around the economy and the development of our local economy that will be useful to businesses? Because
Yeah.
small businesses are the fabric of our economy.
Yes.
Because I'm a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so,
Mhm, yeah.
for me, it is how you start a business, how you get a business permitted, how you get buildings built, the cost of development, the cost of financing. So, like, I see so many projects killed because of financing, because they have to be a certain size to get financed, and that's one of the reasons we're getting stuff that's too big. I don't know how to do this.
So would this commission be like making resolutions to city council on how to change policy, or will we be?
I
like
would
a
hope
rec-
so, yeah. So,
Okay, interesting.
Like, one of the things, Ricardo, Robin, and I, some of the design review, we're talking a lot about, like, in the affordable housing, and I think, I'll go ahead, it's been my pet for a while, I think it's in the reparations discussion. You know, is there a way that the city can say, as part of reparations, if it's a black-owned building or a black-owned business that owns a building, they don't have to pay property taxes for X years.
Sure.
That changes the pro forma. And is there an affordable housing component with that? If there's another thing, you know, that the city will take care of, public improvement to sidewalks, street trees, yada, yada, yada.
Stormwater
If it's
management.
Stormwater management, we'll do all these steps. If we get this amount of affordable housing, is there, so, you know, so there's like different things that we can pull from that I think we should absolutely, some of that's design guideline stuff, that's not UDO necessarily specific, some of it is UDO, and some of it's policy. But yes, please.
So then can we have a broad working group around economic development that is just sort of answering some questions as they come up?
So I have a different view on economic development,
Yes,
because we
ma'am.
are an established business.
Yes, ma'am.
We
And
need
I'm a
more,
hammer, so
right,
all
we
I'll
need
say is the
more
name.
police presence. We need, as this body, we need to recommend to council that they give police whatever they ask for.
Sure.
That the parking garages are restored and fixed, that a performing arts center is built to attract more customers to downtown. That is my view of economic development. So it's less in how do we attract smaller, newer businesses, and how do we support the sustaining businesses that are already supporting downtown.
I would agree with that. I would say as a local
Thank you.
business, I think more businesses should be hiring local marketing firms instead of outsourcing to Atlanta and Charlotte. I
It's
agree.
not an either or, it's
No, I
a,
think
okay,
it's yes
because we
and
also
yes and.
want a new business who's starting to be able to last 100 years, like we
Yes, ma'am.
have.
Yes, ma'am.
I
So-
agree.
So what does that mean?
Well, so to me, it's, we advise council on things like engaging with Mike Lamb when they're asking for a 6% pay increase, that we provide a recommendation to council that that happen. When they're asking what should be done with Thomas Wolfe, that we say, yeah, find the money to renovate Thomas Wolfe to the highest and best use. When they're asking what can be done for parking garages and where, do what?
Don't we feel like maybe that's a really broad view of economic development? I think that's definitely business development and consumer acquisition, of course. But
Right.
I wonder if that's a really broad version of economic development.
Again,
for-
So it's
for a
how do you
subcommittee.
attract more customers to
Marketing.
all of the economic drivers of downtown, which are small businesses?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's clearly going to be a bond campaign that's going to be going on to address all of those things, right? Coming in November. What is this commission going to do to make sure our stakeholders know that much of what will be issued in that, or much of what will be addressed in the bond campaign will have an impact on downtown? And so how do we make sure that our stakeholders are educated on, yeah, this is another tax increase, but what could it mean for downtown?
If they actually spend the bond.
So working group. So working group or subcommittee?
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
'cause
Okay.
so, I mean, the wording of the script is right from the first paragraph, right? For the sustainability and continued development of downtown, a vital urban center of Western North Carolina, is economic, cultural, and visitor activity. So it's not just the economic,
Yes.
it's not just, you know, visitor, it is the cultural activity as
Sure.
well, which is, you know,
So a performing arts center or a, yeah.
all these things, right? but economics is woven throughout all of these, I mean, financial tools. It's like that language is woven all throughout the powers and duties. My instinct might be wrong, but my instinct is that should be part of everything we're doing. So in your public realm piece, that's gonna be there. In the bid, it's gonna be there. In the stakeholder engagement, it's gonna be there.
Sure.
The economic development piece, we haven't been intentional about it,
Sure.
maybe.
But like, is there a structure? I like systems. Is there a way that we can make ourselves become more intentional? Because I think the issue is we have all these things to talk about, and then we go over, and then we forget that there's more than one type of business. And so, what does it mean to do economic development in everything that we do if we don't have a structure to make sure that's happening?
Or at least become informed. I, sat on a call that Buncombe County did that talked about this group, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to think of their name, but Rachel from the city leads it.
Oh, the CDC.
And they do, like they give people money.
Strategic partnership grants.
No, sorry, maybe it's not Rachel. They give people money and, well, they backstop loans.
The Mountain Community
Capital Fund campaign, something like that. Anyways, we can learn about that, and maybe
Sure.
through us learning about it, we can, we can tell others. That would be small businesses, and that would also be businesses that already exist who might need a little bit of a loan to be able to grow their business, and they are able to kind of like, they don't give the loans, but they back, they
Sure.
insure them essentially. And so we can begin to learn about these things and share that information with the community that watches every.
So how do we ensure that this body does that if we're trying to do more, if we're trying to supplant more than just these monthly presentations because they don't do enough? What is the structure to make sure that everyone is invited and informed about that meeting so we can share with the public?
If I knew, I'd be doing it already. That's where I need y'all's help. So again, I'm already engaged in the pieces I know to be engaged in, the things that I can see. I can't see what I can't see. That's what I need more.
It's also a tough thing because when you read through the purposes and powers, this is very proactive. It's intended for this body to be very proactive, which is funny to me for a body that's actually just advisory.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, we provide a ton of recommendations, but there's also stuff
There's
in
also a
here.
lot of development language.
There is a lot of development.
Well, it seems like we recommend things that they're asking for approval on. Like, what do you think? Since we're about to vote on it, and maybe we should be recommending things they should take up 3 years down the road. I don't know.
Let me do this for the economic piece for now. I'm going to keep that on the agenda for I want to move into the public realm piece. I want to keep it. I'll keep it on the agenda for next meeting. I think we need to. I think I'd like to stew on. I'd like to stew on this a little bit. Sorry, I looked right at him when I did it. It just, yeah, that joke. Sorry. So let me think about this a
Happens
little
all
bit.
the time.
Let me think about this a little bit. Let's all think about like what does it need to be a subcommittee that like tries to talk to everything we're doing, or is this just something that we all need to be aware of in all of our discussions better, like the stakeholder engagement? I'm not sure I know yet. I know you want a system, and I agree because we're not doing it yet, but maybe it's a working group that there's some targeted things that we can identify and come up with some resolutions that start to address this. That's where I'm headed, but I'm not ready yet, if that makes sense, because I don't know what it would do. All right, public realm. Moving on. I know 11 hard stop. I heard you. Public realm enhancement. So we would like to establish a public realm enhancement subcommittee for downtown. So, Nor, Hayden, are you ready to speak to that? Tell us what it's going to do.
The public space task force, which was a subcommittee of the downtown commission, just kind of, I guess, lost the chair, lost some steam, and so we're trying to reestablish, essentially be that
as we identified public realm enhancements rather than just like use of public space as a top priority for this commission, we felt like this is something that we could focus the committee's efforts on. You know, I'm new to boards and commissions, and I appreciate that we're an advisory board, but I'd also like to see us kind of be a working board, right? Like, there's nothing that keeps us from making shit happen. Like, we don't have to go to council to ask if we can go to property owners to pay per tree to help light the street for the holiday lights, right? We don't have to go to council for that. Right. So, like, let's just do some stuff. And so I think that hopefully, I hope that, you know, like the public realm enhancement group can help to identify some areas where we can, you know, maybe convene groups to bring flower baskets back downtown and.
Mary
figure-
Fairley just started listening just now.
She, Mary, she heard flower baskets. Hey, Mary, I do appreciate Mary so much, and help to get, you know, flower baskets and help to work on, as I mentioned earlier, winter programming and what it looks like to light downtown so that folks feel safe and feel comfortable and have a reason to come downtown during the holiday season and spend money at our businesses. So I hope that the Public Realm Enhancement Committee could be a work, you know, like do the work of trying to figure out how we can make these things happen. How do we engage, you know, AIR, ADA, TDA, city to try and just, it's a cohesive effort. And then one day maybe we can talk about things like open streets or, you know, benches or public restrooms or, you know, things like that.
Okay.
Can I ask, what's the limit on the scope of the word enhancement? Like, I want to make sure like the group is focused, because I want to make sure the group is focused on like beautification and not enhancements through safety.
Nothing the group wants to work on wants to hurt anybody. It's just like making downtown
I
pretty,
don't-
coming downtown.
I think a
to
lot of
spend
things that are
money,
meant to hurt
coming
people hurt
downtown
people.
To like, just to be downtown, exist downtown, not like no weapons, no names.
No,
like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, but my question is, I just don't want this commission to become really, really focused on solely different ways of clean and safe. That's why I was just asking for clarification for my own
that wasn't-
idiocy.
that wasn't on the
What's this
radar,
limit
though.
on the
Everything
scope
is
of
just like,
enhancements?
How can we activate these spaces that aren't being used
think
downtown?
y'all
So
One
if
of
there's
them
like
is
a
focused on
Pritchard
activating.
Park Farmers Market.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
That is a enhancement to Pritchard Park
Yes, ma'am.
that could probably make Pritchard Park safer for one evening a week or something. So
No, I'm just asking what the limit on the term, because historically commissions and boards have used the term enhancement to go really far, and so I'm just asking for clarification. I don't know why that's so weird.
Yeah, no,
I'm
no.
specifically referring to beautification.
That's what I was asking. So is that the limit on the scope? Beautification and activation.
Yeah.
So
For the public.
first of all, as a subcommittee, they absolutely have the ability to engage with other, I gotta use the word, stakeholders like the TDA or ADA or AIR or whoever. But, you know, anything that would require a recommendation to council or something like that would still have to, it would come from a subcommittee as a motion to us, and then we would consider it and go from there. So, my take on it is just what they just described, you know, winter lights, flower baskets, you know, events, farmers markets, the North Market Street Farmers Market, improving, enhancing. And for me, enhancement is, you know, not necessarily, although I think they could get into stuff like they could really start to push, we need a pedestrian street plan, we need, you know, there's some, again, I'm a hammer, everything looks like a nail, but there's some design pieces that would come into that I'm pretty interested in as part of an enhancement.
So is the scope of the word enhancement beautification and activation? Okay.
Yes.
See how
That's
it's
what I'm
going?
hearing.
See?
That's what
Yell
I'm
at me.
hearing. That's what I understand, yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. I'm in. Should I make
So-
a motion?
Are we ready to make a motion on that? Well, first, so, okay, that's great. So please make a motion.
I move that Hayden and Noor have their realm enhancement.
I'm sorry, can I, Let me just, can I offer a few things? So generally, when we've set up working groups or committees in the past, there's been at least 3 members from the Downtown Commission, so I ask folks to consider that if there's
I'll
someone
join.
else. Okay. Also,
Thank
every
you, Terry.
other committee or working group, I'm trying to think, I know that I've helped staff in the past, has included specific representatives from other bodies or organizations. And so, not that that necessarily has to be established today, it was established for the Public Space Management Committee. And if you all have if you feel clear on what you want that to look like moving forward, that'd be nice to bring up today, or you could take the next month and work on clarifying that. But I just want to offer, I think it would be more useful if it's not just the representatives from this group that
Well,
participate.
I already heard them reference ADA, AIR, TDA, yes?
And then also likely, there's the Block Collaborative, there's the businesses of South Slope, the Pack Square Partners. I think the folks who already are convening DARN might be an interesting group, but just representatives from those groups to help with, maybe the buskers could also lend a few men.
Speaking of. Okay, all right. So we have a motion, and I don't,
Even Michelle seconded.
yeah, and a second.
Yay.
Did you get all that? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in,
We need to clarify that.
and so, and it's, I am gonna make sure I understand what I'm voting for, that, we are voting to set up a public realm enhancement subcommittee, with, Billy and Hayden and Noor, correct? Do I need to restate the purpose for the beautification and enhancement of? Activation, thank you, and beautification and enhancement, and that would potentially involve other organizations such as the TDA, the ADA, and AIR. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great, that motion carries.
Can I ask a clarification question too? For the Public Space Management Committee, are we considering that done? Like, is this the new iteration of that?
I would move that we hereby disband the Public Space Management Committee, that the Public Realm, the Public Realm Enhancement Committee has taken its place.
Thanks.
Is there a second?
A second?
I think that was, yeah. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Sorry, Andrew. It just changed.
You're welcome to join the Public Realm Enhancement.
I'd be honored to. I think I have some expertise. I'm here on other business, I just wanted to say hello.
Thanks for coming. All right. So, are we in agreement on how we're moving forward with the priorities for now?
Yes.
So, okay.
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
Just because, and we didn't get to housing at all, but so I have a specific interest in infill development, particularly for surface parking lots.
Did I say something about housing?
You said put it on
So,
hold.
Said you
so
didn't wanna talk about
yeah.
That's what you said.
kind of what you said.
I want to talk about it, but I've been told not to talk about it yet.
I'm not saying we need to talk about it, I'm just saying I'm interested in infill, whether that's small buildings, 2-story, 3-story walk-ups, or towers on surface parking lots. I think that addresses housing. I think it addresses economic development. I think it even addresses public realm enhancements.
100%.
So if I can just do that in public realm, or someone else wants to form another subcommittee or working group with me to focus on that specifically, I would be interested in doing that. I just don't want to join a group that's focused on all these nebulous things
Yeah,
that are
st-
as of
stay-
yet undecided.
Stay with them, because your expertise is really fun for the public realm.
with
But we are going to do something on the housing piece, but it's just a not yet.
Okay.
And just to offer, there's a lot of work happening right now on housing, and that is open and available to participation. Also open and available if there's a downtown commission person that wants to be like the housing, helping downtown commission stay informed on some of this. But there's the Planning and Zoning Commission is working really hard right now. Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, staff is working on an affordable housing plan. Staff is working on making various zoning changes to make development easier, as well as some displacement strategies. So there's like a lot of really deep work happening, and maybe that's, you know, not totally clear today in terms of the best way to plug in, but hearing and knowing housing is a priority, we want to, on the staff side, help you all find those opportunities to plug in, but that shouldn't prevent you from, you know, also keeping up with all this work that's happening now.
Is there a working group from the county for the Cox Avenue project that Billy could get involved in? From this body?
I am not aware of one. I think it's a question for the county.
Because that would be a really great one, because that's downtown surface parking, and there's a huge proposal for that.
But you're saying that
Yeah.
Billy can always reach out to city staff to get clarity as a commissioner? Or, like,
Absolutely,
and
or
engage in
any
the
of
process?
the chairs of these other bodies, right? So like the previous, different committees we've had over time, we've made sure and had a planning and zoning rep and other reps. We need and want, and it's part of your charge, to be coordinating with these other advisory bodies. And I want
So he
that
can-
part to be heard.
He can throw his weight around in somebody else's room a little bit as a
Well,
commissioner?
coordinate, touch base with the chair of planning and zoning and say, like, what are y'all thinking about when it comes to redevelopment of surface lots? Is there an opportunity for us to provide input or provide advocacy? Like, that is
Yeah, we're on
completely
equal weight
appropriate.
with all of those people, and you're more than welcome to contact them and ask.
Okay,
Big dog.
sounds good.
That's it. That's it. Updates and report, if we're ready to move on, updates and reports, Design Review Committee.
Sure. I'll give report on the last 2 months since we didn't talk about this last time. For the April meeting, we reviewed 3 projects. The first one was the Riverside Drive residences, which is the big housing project on the River Arts District, and gave them, this was the formal review for that one. We had reviewed this informally before. The applicant came back with, they had taken some of our comments, but the changes that they made were rather timid, and a lot of our comments they just ignored. So we, I mean, just plainly spoken, right? So they decided to continue, and that project, that formal review was continued to the June meeting. So there was no vote on it. We reviewed the True Hotel on Long Shoals Road. That's a small hotel project. It was an informal review, gave them some input. And then the Patton Avenue Duke substation, the temporary substation, also a small thing that's temporary for like 4 years. Gave them some recommendations on that. Pretty straightforward stuff. Then for the May meeting, the True Hotel came back for formal review, and they had taken our comments into consideration and applied them. We actually asked them for additional changes, which they agreed to do, so the building is actually going to be a lot more in line with the design guidelines. And that's it. Everything else is continued to June.
Thank you. Robin is not able to be here, but she provided a link to the report for the basically the different folks working on the unhoused population. Basically, the COC continues to come together. Any questions on that? I'll refer you to Robin. The Asheville Downtown Association.
Yes. We continue to activate North Lexington Avenue through the Downtown After 5 event. That's the third Thursday of each month, April through September. We've partnered with the Martin Luther King Foundation and given them the platform to celebrate Juneteenth on June 21st. We'll begin activating Pritchard Park starting next Tuesday with our Pritchard Park Arts and Culture series, where we invite on Mondays singer-songwriters, on Tuesdays Hoop Jam, on Thursdays the Asheville Museum of Science, and on Fridays the Drum Circle. That will go from next week through August 30th. We are launching a placemaking summit in August, so we hope that this group, especially the public enhancement or public realm enhancement committee, might get involved. We'll be screening a film that was directed by the leader of Placemaking US on the place man. And then following that, we are launching a campaign for Winter in Downtown that we hope this group can help activate and help us engage with stakeholders to kind of get the community rallied around a winter programming and holiday lights in downtown.
Very good. Any questions? General downtown updates. I think Dana linked the report.
Well, I have one more, Brian, is that?
Oh, go ahead.
Also, Independence Day is moving to the South Slope this year, so just want to say that as much as possible. It's our official Independence Day celebration that used to take place in Pack Square will now be taking place on the South Slope on July 4th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. Dana Frankel, Planning Staff. Some updates for you all today. So based on your feedback at the retreat, we're going to be reducing the frequency of these safety and cleanliness updates from APD and the city manager's office, although we're still committed to providing those, particularly anything significant that the city wants to get the word out on, and or if we need your feedback on. So I would say a minimum twice a year, but of course, as needed, as requested, we're happy to have leadership from the city and from APD come provide those types of updates. And we are still sending the monthly newsletter, so if you have not signed up for it, please do, and help us and your stakeholder friends and your neighbors also know that that resource is available so they can keep up with all of these things the city's working towards. Solid Waste Master Plan. The city has been seeking funding, trying to get this underway for quite a few years, and it's happening now. So this is really exciting. One specific aspect of this plan is for downtown specifically. There's going to be a downtown waste storage and collection plan. So there's new innovative ways urban areas are able to handle and store and pick up waste. And so we're early in the contracting process there. In fact, the contract's going to council on Tuesday. Once that gets through, there'll be a whole kind of stakeholder engagement plan, and we're looking forward to keeping you guys informed and engaged and helping us get businesses to the table to talk through what some of their issues are and think about opportunities moving forward. Budget process. So the draft budget was presented by staff to council at their last meeting, and the public hearing on the budget is happening on Tuesday, on May 28th. City Council is scheduled to adopt the fiscal year 24-25 budget on June 11th. Capital project updates. So instead of kind of highlighting the different projects in this meeting, I just want to let you all know that Capital Projects is providing a detailed update to City Council at their meeting on Tuesday on downtown projects specifically, and that's part of the manager's report at the beginning of the meeting. So just want to let you all know that that's coming. Happy next month to link to that presentation so you can hear the latest and greatest. Boosting the block. So we are going back to council on Tuesday to seek authorization to move forward with a community facilitator contract. This has gotten delayed, but we've been working with the community, and we heard feedback from council on different aspects. So we're creating a new position as part of this project, a local community coordinator, and hoping to move forward with this community facilitator contract and really get that project rolling in June. Business Improvement District, we discussed. Council is scheduled to take their next vote on June 11th. And that's what I've got. Happy to answer any questions that you all, I have two more things. Patton Avenue corridor, I know some of you are directly involved, but there's a public meeting next Wednesday, the 29th, at Harris Cherokee Center. There's some updated plans and proposals, and staff is seeking input on those. And the Vance Monument, I forgot to put that in my report. So that the remainder of the base of the monument has been coming down for the last couple weeks. The majority of the work is done, actually, which is great because special events start today. And so yeah, that work is wrapping up a lot quicker than expected. There's a temporary landscaping plan that's going to go in. And then later this summer, we're kicking off the design process for the long-term design of Pack Square. And that design plan is funded by the Mellon Foundation. So you will hear more about that soon, but in the interim, there'll be temporary landscaping installed in the site of the former monument.
Okay,
Great.
thank you. All right, so Sage is not here to give us city council updates. We'll catch up with her later. So future agenda items that I have, that I thought I marked, includes, I think we're just going to talk about the script, and we're going to continue to talk about the economic development piece and continue to talk about stakeholder engagement. Are there other future agenda and obviously we're going to take what the working group for the bid comes up with, as well as anything that public realm enhancement starts to present. And again, housing, we may hear from Sasha in June. I'm not sure yet, but that is very much on my list.
Can we keep the public benefits table comparison of hotel projects as a future agenda item, please?
Yeah, I had someone reach out to me about this. There is a really amazing person making content online about our city's infrastructure, and I love them. But they reach out about the transparency around the benefits table, and and the hotel overlay, and I didn't know where to point this person around, like the hotels that have been approved because of this. Is there a place to find that? Should they come to this body to request it?
We do have a table we can share out. The reality is not many projects, Clay, please correct me if I'm wrong, you're closer to this, have actually made it through that benefits process. And in that way, there's not a whole lot to analyze right now.
But also, Clay, didn't at one of the meetings you say, like, the other issues, there's like no way of double checking when they were supposed to have made that contribution? Like, isn't that the thing? Like, how do we know they have to make it by the time the hotel opens? Or
Certificate of occupancy, they're supposed to make it by then. Sorry.
Sorry, Clay.
So we're just talking to you. Hey, Clay.
Yeah, morning. So I've been working on this for the last 4 or 5 days in between other stuff, and we do have a draft dashboard that's been put together that we hope to release soon. But the way the process works is that we require now, we've worked through some kinks in the operation of the ordinance, and we require a projected contribution or compliance information about the benefits table. The formal requirement to actually do that compliance kicks in prior to the certificate of occupancy.
Sure.
And so our internal permitting software has like a hold on it, and they can't get a certificate of occupancy until they provide the evidence of compliance, which for monetary contributions is delivery of a check.
Right.
For other things, we have to have sufficient evidence, and we don't have any kind of protocol or regulations that guide, okay, what is evidence of you making an attempt to contract with minority and women-owned businesses. So we're kind of, some of those things we're looking at. And only one hotel has tried has indicated that as a portion of their compliance,
Sure.
projected compliance. So we're trying to get out ahead of that and come up with a way that we can analyze it. But obviously, the vast majority of the compliance options are selecting contributions. And so what we have on the dashboard is the information that the applicants have given us as a part of the preliminary process to show, hey, if everybody comes through with the way they projected, this is what will result. But when you get down to the very end of the dashboard, there's a big, long list of all the projects that have completed, and it's only one.
Right. So I guess two things. In the public information that's out there about the amount of projects that have come through this, then we don't know where the money is, because the quickest answer is the project's not done and the money's not due until the project is done.
Correct.
Right. But then the second part of that is who should be making recommendations to the city or council about enforcement for the non-monetary contributions. Like you were saying, like you don't have an enforcement mechanism right now?
No, we have an enforcement mechanism. What we don't have is, no, it's more like, well, what standard do you apply and how do they show they met that standard on some of these things? For like green building, it's pretty simple. You can get a third-party certification,
Sure.
check that box. For minority participation or for employment, that piece, we have that on like the contracting end. You can go through the hub office,
Sure.
and show, you get points for it. But for like, I don't know how you do that in the hospitality industry. I don't know if there's we just don't know.
And who would be tasked to learn to knowing?
I think we would, yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, we would have to come up with some kind of list of criteria that would say, yes, you have satisfied this, and therefore your points that you are claiming are available to you.
And that's and you guys are working on that now.
We are talking about it, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I haven't put pen to paper or
Sure.
fingers to keyboards yet on it, but the other guardrails are in place, though, to make sure that the funds are coming in.
Right.
So we've only had, like I said, we've only had one applicant actually submit funds, and those funds have been submitted, they're tracked in our permitting software,
Sure.
and then, after that, I don't know, what the finance group does with those checks, but they are submitted.
If I remember the ordinance correctly, there was like a 2-year evaluation. There was like, we're coming up on the evaluation of how it's working. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was to have staff kind of report back to us, come up with some here's how many hotels have been submitted, here's how many have been approved, and here's what, so we can see how the thing is working. And we've already, I know on the design review side, we've already had some discussions that we are getting a lot more pay to play than what I think we all wanted when we did the benefits table.
Yeah.
And so there's already a thought process there. Make
Yeah.
your job even harder.
I literally sent out the draft dashboard yesterday afternoon at 5:30.
Okay.
So that's how quickly we're working on it. I would hope by your next meeting, we would at least have something that's already public facing, or at least something that we can start sharing. I will give you, it updates from a master spreadsheet that we have to maintain internally because we have data everywhere, every 12 hours. So it'll be live continuously. And the hope is that we don't have to respond to public requests, and so we say, go to this dashboard. This is updated every 12 hours about hotel applications that come in and all that information. And then all staff has to do is fill in the spreadsheet, and it automatically propagates to the dashboard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I don't think this one's for you, Clay.
Okay.
Do we anticipate this commission will receive some type of presentation on general obligation bonds and what projects are going to be included in those? Hopefully prior to?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
great, thank you.
I don't have that clear of an answer on that question.
Well, Brian does.
I'm glad you do.
We would like to have that when I was saying,
Right.
It's been my intent to get that information late summer when, so we can start to look at where it's going in. But yes, I want to hear that. Anything else for future agenda?
When Sasha comes, or when,
Whoever.
this really applies to anything on any of these topics, but just because I know the housing piece is, there's a lot of interest in it. Can we ask her to just, do some brainstorming and make sure that, that maybe come with some ideas on how we can engage and how, like, what holes we can fill or where we can support them specifically, so that we don't have to kind of digest it. Which we'll have to do, and we should, but we'll just be faster, on the uptake if she has some ideas.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it might be nice for staff to come with us in certain instances, asking with specific asks, knowing that we have expertise on stuff and that we have working groups and subcommittees. So us maybe playing a more active role would be nice. And knowing where to be directed by staff would be great.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, folks. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, please leave. Thank you.